First picture. You go to that first picture and then flip your page there, Rose. And you look at the top picture on the second page. It's this model right here. Okay? Remember I showed you that if you pick his nose, not all the way in his nose, a little bit, right here. That's the external nares, that opening right there. All right, that's number one on the model. Number two is this little space right here. This little space is the nasal vestibule. If I go from the external nares, see that ridge right there? Number 6, the ridge. Anna, the ridge. All right, see the ridge, people? Study with me down there. See this ridge right here? That ridge is the internal nares. The nasal cavity goes from the external nares to the internal nares. All of this is nasal cavity. So if I go in numerical order, number 1 is the external nares. Number 2 is the nasal vestibule. Number 3 are these ridges. What are these ridges?
Concha.
The nasal concha. And underneath it, it's not numbered, but underneath is a groove. And underneath each nasal concha is a meatus. And that's the one that when the air comes in, it makes it swirl. Okay? And what did we say that it does?
Moisten.
3 things. Moisten, warm, and cleanse. It cleanses, cleanses, humidifies, and...
Warms.
Who?
Warms.
Yeah, that, warms. Okay. This up here is your frontal sinus, or right here. This space is your sphenoid sinus. Now, all of this is nasal concha, but when I pass this little ridge, the internal nares, there's a hole right there. It's marked number 7. That hole is the opening of the auditory tube. That's the tube that goes up to your middle ear. Got it? All of this area, turn to your page, the 3rd page, bottom picture. See where it says oropharynx, nasopharynx, and laryngopharynx? Okay, it's easier to see on that picture, but you can see it here. Look, this area down to the soft palate, this right here is the nasopharynx. Part of which system? Respiratory or digestive?
Oh, respiratory.
Respiratory, we don't eat through our nose. We puke through our nose, we don't eat through our nose. So if I go straight into the mouth, I've got this opening. This space is the oropharynx, down to the hyoid bone. From the hyoid bone to where it splits into the larynx and the esophagus, that's the laryngopharynx. All right?
Can you point out the laryngopharynx again?
Laryngopharynx is hard to see because my epiglottis, wait, right here. Okay. It's really hard to see. That's why I use the picture. It's a lot easier to see on the picture.
Okay.
Okay. So, it's upper and lower lip. Now these are really parts of the digestive system because the mouth isn't part of the respiratory system. But if I go through the mouth all the way back, I go right into the oropharynx. Right here is this structure. See it right there? That's the adenoid. That's that pharyngeal tonsil. My next tonsil, if I go to the hard palate and just follow it back and I fall off, right there is the palatine tonsil. When you look and you got the big knots right here and you go, oh, and I see the great big tonsils in the back, I'm looking at your palatine tonsils, those right there. If I follow the tongue all the way back, right there is the lingual tonsil. Got it? Then we go into the larynx. When I go into the larynx, remember, see my little flappy thing here? See this little flappy thing here? And this little flappy thing here? That's the epiglottis. Epiglottis, by definition, epi means on top of. Glottis is the hole between the vocal cords. So epiglottis is on top of the hole between the vocal cords. If I look in here, you can see the hole between the vocal cords. Look right now, pass it around. When you look in there, you're going to see a pink bump. So that when you look in there, you're looking at this. All right, this is the glottis. Look right here. See that bump right there? That's the false vocal cord. This is the true vocal cord. You gotta remember, that's the glottis. Anna, Right there is the false vocal cord. Right there is the true vocal cord. I'm going into the glottis. I hit that little bump. See that bump sticking out? That's the false vocal cord. And then I hit the true vocal cord. The false vocal cord has mucus on it. It's a mucous membrane. It's supposed to catch stuff before it gets in and damages the vocal cords. Okay? So, false vocal cord, true vocal cord. On this model, this is the epiglottis. See it? So when I come then to this model, this is looking at the larynx. Larynx is made up of 9 cartilages, 3 paired and 3 unpaired. These are your unpaired cartilages. Here's a thyroid cartilage, this big shovel-looking thing. Look at this one, looks like a little ring right here. This is the cricoid cartilage. Notice that the thyroid cartilage is open in the back and the cricoid is closed in the back. What bone is this? Hyoid bone. And this is the thyroid. So I go thyro-hyoid membrane. Thyroid cartilage, hyoid bone, thyro-hyoid membrane. This is the cricoid cartilage. So I go cricothyroid ligament, that little ligament right there. This is the one that I told you that if you damage and you couldn't breathe because the mouth was gone, this is where I would make a little incision and put the tube. I can take my pen apart and stick it in there so you can breathe through it. Okay, it's called a cricothyroidotomy. You got to be really specially trained to be able to do it correctly. Now, that's my 3 unpaired: epiglottis, thyroid, and cricoid cartilages. Now, see these 2? Find me the ones that look just like this. Loose ones in here. See this one? Right here. One on each side. I'm going to turn it upside down so you can see. See the witch's boot? There we go. They're like this, but if I turn them upside down, you see the witch's boot? Here's the boot, here's the toe. See the witch's boot and the toe? The boot part is the arytenoid cartilage, and the boot and the toe part is the corniculate. It sits like this, and when the epiglottis closes, it closes right there. Okay? The next one I have are right here. These are the cuneiform cartilage. So I have 2 arytenoid, 2 corniculate, and 2 cuneiform. That gives me a total of 9 cartilages. Then it takes me to the bronchial tree. It's called the bronchial tree because it looks like a canary standing on his head. Put him back where he's standing on his feet. We can go here and you can see the false vocal cord and the true vocal cord. There's the glottis. Grab it. Good. He grabbed it right by the trachea. Okay? When he goes to the trachea, this is my first split. What did I call that space between the between the lungs? This, the trachea, and your right and left primary bronchi are in the mediastinum. And then it splits. Splits into the secondary bronchi. I've got 3 lobes on the right, 2 on the left. Look, 1, 2, 3. Over here is 1, 2. And all these colored ends way over here are tertiary bronchi. Got it? Then it takes us all the way down. I'm way down into the lungs. This is the alveoli. This one coming in is the terminal bronchi. It still has your cartilaginous rings. And then it loses them and goes into the respiratory bronchi. So I go terminal bronchi, respiratory bronchi, and see that little hole right there? That little hole is the alveolar duct. It's taking the air straight into the alveoli. These that are cut open are the alveolar sacs, and these are the alveoli. You've got about 1.5 million in each lung. Be careful on your picture. They flipped these. They named them wrong. If I have blood coming from the heart to the lungs, is it oxygenated or deoxygenated? It's deoxygenated. It's coming to the lungs to get oxygen. In your drawing, they call this the pulmonary vein. It's not the pulmonary vein. It's the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary vein. Be careful. One of the students last period pointed out that it was flipped. I never noticed.
This picture.
Yes, that picture.
Which picture is it?
On page 6. It says the lungs.
So when we look at the lungs, go ahead.
So which one's with the pulmonary artery and pulmonary
Yes, they're flipped.
vein?
Okay, so now we're looking at the lungs. When I look at the lungs, this is the right lung, this is the left lung. Every once in a while, just for laughs, I'll put a sticker there and say, name that entire structure. What is this?
The right lung.
It's the right lung. I'll put it there and it messes people all up. They don't know what the heck it is. Okay? Right lung, left lung. If I look at the lung, see this tip way up here? This is the apex of the lung. If I wanted to touch it, I go right there and I can touch it after I get all the muscle out of the way.
Why is the apex of the lung on the top but the apex of the heart on the bottom?
Because the heart's upside down.
Okay.
Here's the apex, this is the base. The base sits on the diaphragm. The right lung has a superior lobe, a middle lobe, and an inferior lobe. So if I said name this specific structure, this is the right inferior lobe of the inferior lobe of the right lung. Left lung only has 2 lobes. It's got the superior lobe and the inferior. It does not have a middle lobe because look at the heart pushing over. And so the heart takes up the room that the middle lobe would be in. That makes a beautiful question. Which lung only has 2 and why? Why? Because the heart's taking its place. What was the high lung?
It was the thing. Darn it. I wrote it down.
It's right in the middle of the lung.
The hilus is where the blood vessels, the lymphatics, and the nerves go in and out of the organ. It does it in the lymphatic tissue, it does it in the lungs, it does it in the kidney. Okay? So you'll see it over and over and over again. If you look at your picture, there's a picture of the lungs. What page is that, Rose?
7.
Look at page 7, there's a picture. On that picture, I could say, name this, that's the apex and the base, and in the middle it shows the hilus. Well, look. On this, see where all the blood vessels are going into the lung and the pulmonaries coming out? That's the hilus right there, where they're going in and out of the lung right here. That's the hilus.
Dropped 1 or 2 on the ground.
Now we'll get it. All right, so that means that you can familiarize yourself so that if you're looking at a picture, you go, okay, I can't really see what it is, and look on the model. Because the model's clear. On Friday, I'll have the models. You can take the test on the model. You can take the test on the picture. I don't care.
Do you have to pick one or the other? Can you go back and forth?
You can go back and forth.
Will the numbering be the same?
Yes. Give me that.
Well,
All right, look at your first picture. Look at picture number 1. Scratch out
wait.
Scratch out the ribs, lower left-hand side. We're looking at 23-1. Scratch out the ribs and look at slide number 2, 23-3A. Scratch out the nasal cartilages. I'm not going to ask you that. For sure, you need to know the external nares. Go to the 3rd slide. You got to know everything on that. No, see where it says esophagus? Last one on the left-hand side as you look at the picture. I'm not going to ask you the esophagus. Slide 4, X the whole thing out. Slide 5, X the whole thing out. Slide 6, you need to know all 3 of those areas. Nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Slide 7. I'm going down the picture on the right. Scratch out the vestibular ligament. Scratch out the vocal ligament. You need to know the arytenoid. I'm coming up from the left-hand side. See where it says tracheal cartilages? Scratch them out. See where it says laryngeal prominence? Scratch it out. And now I'm going to the picture on the right. Look on the picture over here. This one shows the laryngeal prominence. That's the one I want you to know. Look.
Okay.
This is the laryngeal prominence. This is the Adam's apple, okay?